Smart women follow these 7 rules. There is a quiet strength that many people never notice. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't compete for validation. It doesn't need applause to know its worth. Emotional mastery is one of the greatest forms of intelligence a person can develop. Many people believe that being smart means having knowledge, quick thinking, or impressive skills, but none of these qualities matter if emotions constantly control your decisions. A truly wise woman understands that every emotion has a purpose, but not every emotion deserves immediate action. Anger, frustration, fear, excitement, and disappointment are all temporary visitors. They come, they stay for a moment, and they leave. Making permanent decisions based on temporary feelings often leads to regret. This is why emotional discipline becomes more valuable than emotional expression. Instead of reacting the moment something happens, she creates space between what she feels and what she chooses to do. Life constantly presents situations designed to test patience. Someone may criticize you unfairly. Another person may underestimate your abilities or question your choices. Unexpected problems may appear without warning. In those moments, your first emotional reaction is natural, but your response is a decision. A smart woman refuses to become a prisoner of her first impulse. She understands that reacting without thinking gives other people control over her emotions. Remaining calm does not mean becoming weak or silent. It means choosing wisdom over impulse. It means refusing to let another person's behavior determine your own character. Fear is another emotion that quietly controls many lives. Fear whispers that you are not ready, not capable, or not worthy enough to pursue your goals. It convinces people to remain inside familiar routines instead of stepping toward growth. A wise woman recognizes fear without allowing it to become her leader. She understands that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision to continue despite uncertainty. Every meaningful achievement requires walking through discomfort before reaching confidence. Confidence is not built before action. It is built because of action. Another powerful emotion is anger. Anger can feel justified, especially when someone has treated you unfairly. Yet uncontrolled anger often hurts the person, carrying it more than the person who caused it. Holding on to resentment keeps your mind connected to painful moments long after they have passed. A smart woman learns that forgiveness is not always about excusing another person's behavior. Sometimes forgiveness is simply releasing the emotional weight that prevents your own peace. She understands that carrying bitterness into every new day only steals energy that could have been invested in personal growth. Emotional mastery also means resisting the temptation to seek constant validation. Compliments feel good, and recognition can be encouraging, but building your identity around external approval creates emotional dependence. The opinions of others change quickly. One day they praise you, the next day they criticize you. If your confidence rises and falls with every opinion, your peace will always remain fragile. A smart woman builds her confidence through consistency. She keeps promises to herself. She honors her values even when nobody is watching. She measures success by her integrity rather than applause. Patience becomes another expression of emotional intelligence. Modern life encourages immediate results, instant responses, and constant urgency. Yet meaningful growth rarely happens overnight. Strong character develops through repeated choices made over time. Instead of becoming discouraged by slow progress, she trusts the process. She understands that small daily improvements eventually become extraordinary transformation. Every calm response strengthens discipline. Every thoughtful decision strengthens wisdom. Every difficult moment handled with grace strengthens character. Little by little, emotional control becomes a habit rather than an effort, shaping every conversation, every challenge, every opportunity, and every decision she makes throughout her life. One of the clearest signs of wisdom is knowing where to draw the line. Many people believe that being kind means always saying yes, always being available, and always putting the needs of others before their own. Over time, this way of living becomes exhausting. Constantly sacrificing your own peace to keep everyone else comfortable slowly drains your energy, confidence, and self-respect. A smart woman understands that kindness without boundaries often turns into self-neglect. She realizes that protecting her time and emotional well-being is not selfish. It is necessary for a balanced and meaningful life. Boundaries begin with recognizing your own value. If you do not respect your own time, others will often treat it as something they can use whenever they wish. If you allow people to repeatedly cross your limits without consequences, they begin to believe that your silence is permission. This is why healthy boundaries are not built through anger or confrontation. They are built through consistency. A wise woman communicates clearly what she accepts and what she does not. She does not wait until frustration reaches its breaking point. She addresses problems calmly, honestly, and respectfully before resentment has the chance to grow. Many people struggle to say no because they fear disappointing others. They worry that refusing a request will make them appear rude, selfish, or uncaring. Yet every time you say yes to something that violates your priorities, you are often saying no to yourself. You may be giving away time meant for your family, your health, your goals, or your personal growth. A smart woman understands that every decision carries a cost. She carefully chooses where her energy goes because she knows it is one of her most valuable resources. Not everyone will appreciate your boundaries. Some people become uncomfortable when they can no longer benefit from unlimited access to your time or emotions. They may accuse you of changing or becoming distant simply because you no longer tolerate behavior that once exhausted you. This reaction often reveals more about their expectations than about your character. A wise woman does not abandon her standards to keep people comfortable. She remains respectful, but she remains firm. She understands that real relationships can survive honest boundaries, while unhealthy relationships often depend on their absence. Boundaries also protect emotional health. There are conversations that steal peace instead of creating understanding. There are environments filled with constant negativity, gossip, and unnecessary conflict. A smart woman learns to step away from situations that repeatedly disturb her inner balance. She does not feel obligated to attend every argument, respond to every criticism, or solve every person's problems. She recognizes that not every battle deserves her attention. Sometimes the strongest response is choosing silence and walking away with dignity. Setting boundaries requires confidence because it challenges old habits. If you have spent years trying to please everyone, saying no may initially feel uncomfortable. Guilt may appear, even when you have done nothing wrong. But guilt is not always evidence that you made a bad decision. Sometimes it is simply the feeling that comes with breaking unhealthy patterns. The more consistently you honor your limits, the more natural they become. Confidence grows each time you choose self-respect over people-pleasing. Healthy boundaries also create stronger relationships. They encourage honesty instead of hidden resentment. They allow both people to understand expectations clearly. Mutual respect grows when each person recognizes the other's needs, time, and individuality. A smart woman does not build relationships through endless sacrifice. She builds them through trust, communication, consistency, and respect. She understands that protecting her peace allows her to give her best without losing herself, making every interaction more genuine, balanced, intentional, and rooted in self-worth rather than obligation or fear of rejection. Words are easy to speak. Promises are easy to make. Anyone can describe the person they hope to become, but very few are willing to do the quiet work that turns those words into reality. A smart woman understands that actions always reveal more than intentions. She knows that character is not measured by how confidently someone speaks, but by how consistently they live. This understanding shapes the way she carries herself. She does not feel the need to announce every goal, defend every decision, or convince others of her worth. Instead, she allows her daily actions to tell the story that words never could. In a world where people constantly seek attention, there is unusual strength in quiet consistency. Social media often rewards appearances more than substance. It encourages people to display success before it has truly been earned. Many become more focused on looking disciplined than actually becoming disciplined. A wise woman resists this temptation. She knows that real progress happens in private, long before it becomes visible to anyone else. The early mornings, the difficult decisions, the sacrifices, and the repeated effort may never be seen by others, but they shape the person she is becoming. There is also great wisdom in speaking only when necessary. Not every opinion needs to be shared, and not every disagreement requires a response. Some people spend so much energy trying to prove themselves through words that they leave little energy for meaningful action. A smart woman understands that silence often carries more strength than endless explanation. She does not waste time arguing with people who have already decided not to understand her. Instead, she continues improving herself. As time passes, her results become the answer that no argument could ever provide. Trust is another reason actions matter more than words. Relationships are built on reliability, not empty promises. A person who repeatedly says the right things but fails to follow through eventually loses credibility. On the other hand, someone who quietly keeps their commitments earns respect without demanding it. A smart woman values this kind of integrity. She understands that every promise she keeps, whether made to others or to herself, strengthens her character. Every commitment honored becomes evidence that she can depend on herself even when life becomes difficult. This principle also applies to personal goals. It is easy to announce plans to start exercising, learn a new skill, improve financial habits, or develop greater confidence. The challenge begins after the excitement fades. Motivation comes and goes, but disciplined action continues. A wise woman does not rely on temporary inspiration. She creates routines that support her goals, regardless of how she feels on a particular day. She understands that excellence is rarely the result of one extraordinary effort. It is usually the result of countless ordinary actions, repeated with consistency over time. Humility naturally grows from this mindset. When your attention remains focused on action, there is less desire to seek recognition. A smart woman does not need constant praise, because her satisfaction comes from knowing she is becoming stronger each day. She celebrates progress without becoming distracted by the opinions of others. Whether people notice her efforts immediately or not does not change her commitment. Her purpose remains greater than public approval. There will always be people who judge based on appearances or misunderstand your intentions. Trying to control every opinion is impossible. Trying to impress everyone is exhausting. A smart woman frees herself from this burden by concentrating on what she can actually control. She cannot control gossip, assumptions, or criticism, but she can control her habits, her attitude, her work ethic, and the integrity with which she lives. Day after day, her actions quietly build a reputation that no amount of empty words could ever create. She understands that lasting respect is earned through consistency, patience, honesty, responsibility, and the quiet discipline of living according to her values. Even when no one is watching or offering recognition, the moment a person believes there is nothing left to learn, growth begins to slow. Intelligence is not measured by how much you already know, but by your willingness to keep learning. A smart woman understands that every stage of life offers new lessons, new challenges, and new opportunities to become wiser. She never assumes that yesterday's knowledge is enough for tomorrow's problems. Instead of becoming comfortable with what she already knows, she remains curious. She asks questions, seeks understanding, and welcomes experiences that expand her perspective. Personal growth is not limited to education, or professional success. It includes developing emotional maturity, improving communication, strengthening discipline, and learning how to navigate life's uncertainties with grace. A wise woman understands that success on the outside means very little if there is chaos within. She invests just as much energy into building her character as she does into building her career. She knows that confidence grows from competence, and competence grows through continuous practice and learning. Every challenge becomes a classroom for someone committed to growth. Failure is no longer seen as proof of weakness, but as information that points toward improvement. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" she begins asking, "What can this teach me?" This simple shift transforms obstacles into opportunities. Disappointment becomes experience. Mistakes become wisdom. Difficult seasons become training for greater responsibilities. She understands that every setback carries a lesson that can make her stronger if she is willing to look beyond the immediate pain. Growth also requires honesty with yourself. It is easy to notice the flaws of others while ignoring your own habits. A smart woman regularly reflects on her behavior, attitudes, and decisions. She is willing to admit when she is wrong because she values truth more than pride. She does not fear constructive criticism. Instead, she listens carefully, keeping what is useful and leaving behind what is not. This ability to evaluate herself without becoming defensive allows her to improve steadily over time. Developing new skills is another important part of continuous growth. The world changes quickly, and those who refuse to adapt often find themselves left behind. A wise woman embraces learning as a lifelong habit. She reads books that challenge her thinking, listens to people with valuable experience, and practices skills that make her more capable and independent. She understands that every new ability increases her confidence because it reduces fear and expands her opportunities. Whether learning a language, improving financial knowledge, strengthening leadership abilities, or mastering a creative talent, she sees every skill as another tool that prepares her for the future. Growth also depends on daily habits rather than occasional bursts of motivation. Many people wait until they feel inspired before taking action, but inspiration is unpredictable. Discipline creates progress when motivation disappears. A smart woman understands that small improvements repeated consistently produce extraordinary results over time. Reading a few pages every day, exercising regularly, practicing gratitude, improving communication, and protecting time for reflection may seem like small actions, but together they reshape an entire life. She trusts the power of steady effort instead of searching for instant transformation. One of the greatest signs of wisdom is remaining teachable regardless of success. Achievement can easily create arrogance if you begin believing you have reached the highest level. A smart woman remembers that every person she meets may know something she does not. She approaches conversations with humility instead of superiority. She learns from mentors, friends, colleagues, and even difficult people who unknowingly teach lessons about patience, resilience, and character. Every experience becomes valuable because she chooses to remain open instead of assuming she already has all the answers. As her knowledge grows, so does her responsibility. She understands that learning is not simply about collecting information, but about applying it with integrity. Knowledge without action changes very little. Real transformation happens when lessons become habits, habits become character, and character shapes every decision she makes. She continues refining her mind, strengthening her discipline, expanding her perspective, and becoming a wiser, more capable, more compassionate, and more resilient woman, with every passing day through consistent learning, thoughtful reflection, purposeful action, and an unwavering commitment to becoming better than she was yesterday. The people you allow into your life have a powerful influence on the person you become. Every conversation, every friendship, and every relationship leaves an impression on your thoughts, your habits, and your emotional well-being. A smart woman understands that success and inner peace are not determined only by personal effort, but also by the environment she chooses to live in. She knows that surrounding herself with the right people is not a matter of luck. It is a decision made with awareness, patience, and wisdom. Instead of chasing relationships simply to avoid loneliness, she values quality over quantity. Not everyone who enters your life deserves to remain there. Some people encourage growth, while others quietly drain your confidence and energy. There are individuals who celebrate your victories as if they were their own, and there are those who become uncomfortable whenever you begin to succeed. A wise woman learns to recognize the difference. She pays attention not only to what people say, but also to how they consistently behave. Words can be convincing, but repeated actions reveal true intentions. Respect, honesty, and loyalty cannot be measured by promises alone. They become visible through everyday choices. Peace becomes one of her greatest standards when evaluating relationships. She no longer believes that love must always be dramatic or that friendship must involve constant emotional chaos. Healthy relationships create a sense of safety rather than confusion. They allow both people to grow without manipulation or unnecessary competition. A smart woman understands that disagreements may happen, but respect should never disappear. Even during conflict, kindness and honesty remain possible. She refuses to normalize disrespect simply because someone claims to care about her. Learning to walk away is often one of the hardest lessons. Many people remain in unhealthy relationships because they hope others will eventually change. They continue investing time, energy, and emotions into situations that repeatedly cause disappointment. A smart woman recognizes that hope alone cannot transform someone's character. She understands that people change only when they genuinely choose to change. Instead of trying to rescue everyone around her, she focuses on protecting her own peace. Walking away from constant negativity is not an act of cruelty. It is an act of wisdom and self-respect. Choosing peaceful relationships also means becoming a peaceful person yourself. A wise woman does not expect qualities from others that she refuses to develop within herself. She values honesty because she practices honesty. She appreciates loyalty because she remains loyal. She desires understanding because she also listens with compassion. Healthy relationships are built through mutual effort rather than one-sided sacrifice. She understands that trust grows slowly through consistent actions and can be damaged quickly by repeated dishonesty or carelessness. She also learns that solitude is often healthier than unhealthy company. Society sometimes creates the illusion that being alone is a sign of failure, but loneliness inside the wrong relationship can be far more painful than peaceful solitude. A smart woman does not rush into friendships or romantic relationships simply to fill empty space. She is comfortable spending time with herself because she has developed a strong relationship with her own mind. This confidence allows her to choose people carefully instead of accepting anyone who offers temporary attention. Supportive relationships encourage growth instead of limiting it. The right people inspire you to pursue your goals, hold you accountable, and remind you of your strength during difficult seasons. They celebrate your progress without jealousy and offer honest advice without trying to control your decisions. A smart woman treasures these rare connections because she understands how valuable they are. She invests in relationships built on trust, encouragement, respect, patience, and genuine care. By choosing people who bring peace instead of chaos, she creates an environment where her confidence, wisdom, emotional strength, and sense of purpose continue to grow naturally with every passing year without unnecessary conflict, constant drama, or emotional exhaustion. One of the greatest mistakes people make is allowing their happiness to depend on the opinions of others. From an early age, many are taught to seek approval before trusting themselves. They wait for compliments before feeling confident, for recognition before believing their efforts matter, and for permission before pursuing their dreams. A smart woman eventually realizes that living this way places her life in the hands of people whose opinions constantly change. She understands that real confidence is built from within, not borrowed from applause. The moment her self-worth becomes independent of external validation, she begins to experience a level of freedom that cannot be taken away. Approval is unpredictable because every person views the world through a different perspective. One individual may admire your confidence while another calls it arrogance. Some will respect your ambition, while others may see it as selfishness. No matter how carefully you live, someone will misunderstand your intentions. A wise woman accepts this reality instead of fighting it. She no longer wastes valuable energy trying to satisfy every expectation placed upon her. Instead, she asks herself whether her actions align with her values. If they do, she moves forward with peace, knowing that integrity matters far more than popularity. Building a meaningful life requires making decisions that others may not understand. There will be moments when you choose personal growth instead of comfort, discipline instead of distraction, and long-term purpose instead of short-term pleasure. Not everyone will support these choices. Some people may question your direction because it is different from their own. Others may criticize your boundaries simply because they benefited when you had none. A smart woman does not allow these reactions to determine her path. She understands that every meaningful journey requires the courage to stand alone at times. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to lose confidence. Modern life makes it easy to compare your appearance, career, relationships, and achievements with carefully edited versions of other people's lives. This constant comparison creates the illusion that everyone else is happier, more successful, or further ahead. A wise woman recognizes this trap. She understands that every person is walking a different path with different challenges, opportunities, and timing. Instead of measuring her progress against someone else's journey, she focuses on becoming a better version of herself than she was yesterday. Self-trust becomes the foundation of lasting confidence. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen the belief that you are dependable. Every difficult decision made according to your principles increases your inner strength. Confidence is not created by hearing encouraging words from others. It is created through repeated experiences of proving to yourself that you can handle challenges, recover from failure, and remain faithful to your values, even when circumstances become difficult. A smart woman understands that her relationship with herself influences every other relationship in her life. Living without depending on approval also means accepting that criticism is unavoidable. Even the kindest, most capable people face misunderstanding and judgment. Trying to eliminate criticism is impossible, but changing your response to it is entirely within your control. A wise woman listens carefully to feedback that helps her grow, but she refuses to carry every negative opinion as if it were absolute truth. She separates useful advice from unnecessary noise. This ability allows her to continue learning without becoming controlled by fear of judgment. As her confidence deepens, she becomes less interested in impressing others and more committed to living authentically. She no longer feels compelled to explain every decision, defend every choice, or seek reassurance before taking action. Her peace comes from knowing who she is and what she stands for. She measures success by the consistency of her character rather than the number of people who approve of her. With every decision guided by honesty, discipline, courage, humility, and self-respect, she builds a life rooted in purpose, inner freedom, unwavering confidence, meaningful values, and the quiet certainty that her worth has never depended on the approval of anyone else, and your happiness becomes independent of applause. That is real freedom.